YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We're gonna look at this NX7e today. As you guys know, we've been pushing the NX10 for a long time now, and we've had really good luck with it. We've got hundreds of planes. I believe we're at 182 on the model we're on now, but there's actually about 40 more than that. So we're almost out of model memory on this anyway. So good time to look at the NX7e. Now, let's talk about the NX7e. First of all, obviously it's already on. It's got this cool lights. It looks a lot better in person. It looks a little bit less like a cow when you see it in person. It's very cool looking. It actually fits the hand exactly the same as the other NX transmitters, with the exception dimensionally that it's just a little teeny tiny bit taller body-wise. And then of course there's gonna be some minor differences on the screen. I think the screen is just a tiny bit smaller. And then of course the sticks, these are cheaper sticks than the Hall effects in the 10. Now, as you guys know, we have gone from the 6 to the 8, ended up with the second 8, and then into the 10. And previous to that, I ended up with an DX18 is what I was using. And prior to that was a DX9 at one point for a very short stint. I actually got the 9 after the 18, but I never actually adopted it. And I had a DX8. And then before that, it would have been a DX5i and a 4e.
Something like that.
And then there was a couple other ready to flies, obviously, in the middle. So I've had a lot of different transmitters over the years, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about this transmitter, okay? So this is a new offering from Spektrum. It is the E for economy, okay? So that means you're gonna give up some features, but the good thing is you're getting 7 full channels. Now that is an advantage over the NX6 with regard to the fact that you do get the right knob, which is really nice, and you get 7 full channels. The 7th channel in an NX6 is only an on-off switch, okay? Now, I've used it in conditions where I've had multiple positions, but they claim it's not a full pulse width modulation range, whatever that stands for. So all I know is that this is actually 7 channels, okay? So also there's some different unique features that we noticed so far. And obviously we've got these Wacos sitting here on the counter because this is a new release from eFlight, and we're super excited to be bringing you those. And those videos should be publishing, you know, like within a few minutes of this video. So if you see it and you're like, hey, but I've got an NX10, I'd really rather prefer just watch the radio setup there. Don't worry, we did set up the yellow and black Waco with the 10. And we're gonna set up the red and white with the 7e just to show you the exact process. So if you're brand new to the hobby and you aren't quite ready to commit to 10 channels, needing some sliders back here, which are like another stick, they're a full analog input there. And you don't need the bigger 6,000 milliamp hour battery as opposed to 2 that comes in this 2000. By the way, the NX6 comes with the 2000. If I was spending money right now, I would not buy the 6. I would definitely go to the 7e, okay? But the thing is, if you need Wi-Fi, you're not gonna get Wi-Fi in this, okay? Now, admittedly, the Wi-Fi for many people is spotty. It's a little bit hard to connect. We have been able to get ours to connect better now that we're not using Starlink and or Viasat, because we're out in the middle of the sticks, and so we do not have fiber, we do not have copper delivery of data to our house. We got a bid for that when we built our house, and it was $63,000.
It's probably like 3 times that now.
Yeah, truthfully. So we obviously said no to that, but we did some other things that were expensive. So out there we have an antenna and we get 5G service that actually, believe it or not, works pretty good. So that being said, this has been surprisingly better than expected, okay? In terms of physical dimensional issues you may notice when you first get it, I'm just gonna move the planes out of the way a little bit. We've got a handhold here, and there is a place to put a finger through, which is kind of nice because I like to be able to wrap my finger in there just like this. Now, it is a little easier to hold this vertical with this configuration if you want to hold it like this, okay? That's probably not a deal breaker for most people, but I definitely can tell you that I don't walk around carrying my transmitters very often like this. But I do really like having rubber grips here. okay? This does not have rubber on the back. So you can see now that is a minor difference, and they also are higher reliefs, okay? Now I'm not saying that one couldn't go about doing something about that if they really wanted that rubber, but I'm gonna just tell you this, you're much more likely to drop this transmitter than you are to drop this transmitter for that. Because I am holding this and it is rock solid. I'm holding this and it is it's a little bit more slick. There's texture on here. Show them the texture, Camera Crew. You see it's just got that little bit of texture to it.
Raised, yeah.
But then if you compare that then to the rubber, you just get really good bite.
Heavier, yeah.
Okay. Now also, the sharpness and crispness of the sticks feels dangerously similar, given that this is a considerably cheaper transmitter. Now, is that going to translate to good flight response in the air? I don't know. I tend to think it's going to be fine. Also, if you're looking and you're like, where are all the adjustment screws so that I can retighten the sticks or change if I've got the detents, the bumps? I don't like the bumps. I make it smooth. There are access, but you have to pull these little covers off here or here respectively. And there is a release tool right there. This tool comes out by using your fingernail to pull this thing out. Weirdest setup ever. Same thing with the battery. You slide this in and that allows you to pop the lid open. Okay, there's your 2000 milliamp hour battery. Okay, I don't like that feature. I think it's ridiculous, but I do think it's nice that they have that covered because it's one less orifice to get water in. Okay, now also the antenna, it's foldable, which is nice. And this actually collapses to a smaller package than the NX, okay? Because on the NX, you've got, the NX10, you've got this bump here. And that's true for all of the cabinets being the same size, okay? The only dimensional difference on the NX10 would be the fact that we have the sliders here, okay? Now this is a little bit heavier than this, but not by a fair, I mean, it's not a big enough difference, and it could be partly due to just the size of the battery. So like, this is the sort of thing you're not gonna see other places because I'm so picky about stuff. So in terms of grams, we're about 783 grams here. And then with this, you're about 660. So we're talking about, you know, roughly a 12% difference. It's just not that big of a difference, okay?
And you could upgrade the battery in the 7E, right?
Yes.
To the larger battery.
Yes. You can use the larger battery. Also, another big detail. Grab that bag, please. Let's show the people. On the back, what do you see here? You see a magnetic attachment point. Now, I can't remember if this came with the transmitter, or if it was an offering that we were just offering as well. But this has a USB micro. This happens to be one of these quick release magnetic attachment points for the charger cable. I can't remember if that came with the 10, to be frank. But if it does come with the 10, I use it all the time and it is nice. I don't have to charge near as often, given that this has a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. I'm gonna just tell you right now, if you fly a lot, you're going to be upgrading the battery. The good news is if you go into an 8, and the 8 comes with a 2000 rather than a 10 that comes with this, I believe the 8 comes with the smaller one, then you can go ahead and take the battery out of here and put it in. It's very easy to switch. Now also, I have gone through and made adapters to use two 2000s in our NX6, I believe, because that was the one my son was gonna use. And then we moved into the 8, so I just took that battery combination out and put it in. So hopefully this gives you a quick rundown on size, shape, and feel. Now I am concerned about one detail. Oh, USB-C, USB-C, that's what I was gonna talk about. USB-C on here compared to USB micro on here. I've got my little adapter back in. So USB-C is a big advantage if you ask me, because A, it's current technology. B, it's ambidextrous, meaning you can turn it upside down or you can have it, you know, right side up. It doesn't know any better. And they do provide the USB-C with a 90 on it, okay, to USB-A. So that's good that they give you a nice high quality cable. And then they give you a lanyard attachment point. And you're like, why do they have to give you a lanyard attachment point? Isn't there already one on there? Yes, there is. So they give you a 3-point standoff here. And that can be quickly detached by sliding your finger in here, and then that comes out. Pretty cool. You can't do that on here, at least easily. I believe this can be unscrewed. I've never done that because I don't really care. But the thing is, if you were gonna switch that out, you would probably have to unscrew it. This just slides in, which might be kind of nice if you like to release your lanyard in that way. However, I must say it's something that you don't want to come off on accident, okay? I do use a lanyard, and we actually had a lanyard company working. They sent us a sample like a year and a half ago, and we just never worked it in. And then finally we put it on. So we'll get that thing and use it when we're flying. I think he makes it out of like paracord, right?
He makes custom designs.
We'll link to his channel and stuff in case you guys want to support him financially. Now, also real quick before I forget to mention it, because I only mentioned it like 14 times in this video, if you want to help support us and you're interested in buying either the NX7e or the NX10 or any other variation, of course, there's the IX line that goes up even higher. And then from the 10, you would go straight to the 20 if you wanted to stay in NX line. I'm gonna tell you my personal experience. And again, this is personal experience. I have been very happy with the 10. We have had limited issues with the 10. As you get more full with your memory, it's a lot harder to find models as you scroll, I've noticed. Yeah. And it's slower to build new models when you start. Most people aren't gonna have 250 models in their model memory. We are a nuance because we do this review stuff, and so we end up with lots of aircraft, which is a great problem to have. But at the same time, if you're in the same boat and you have 1,800 or 2,000 square feet of your house filled with airplanes, then you know the pain of scrolling, okay? Now, if you get that many planes, you may just wanna go up to the IX-14 or the IX-20. They used to have an IX-12. There might still be some used ones available, but I believe that one's discontinued right now largely. So if you decide to follow either our master link for Horizon Hobby, which is down in the video description below, or the links to the NX line, which will include this, you can just pick whichever one you like. Now, be paying attention. If you get the wrong transmitter, you're gonna get transmitter with a receiver. Make sure that the receiver you're getting is what you're gonna need. I'm imploring you to use good judgment here, okay? And if you don't know what you're doing, listen to my judgment for you. I'll help you make a good call. This is gonna be chasing good money after bad if you know you're getting into a 10. If you're a returning hobbyist and you just want something as a stopgap for a year, great option. But if you know you're gonna get into 10 channel planes, don't waste your money on this, even though it's great. Get this, because you're gonna need the extra channels. The Hall effect sensors, I don't really care about. I don't think they're necessary. The sticks on the 8 and the 6 feel fine. I never noticed an issue, okay? Now, if you're hyper picky about it, or you do a lot of 3D heli flying, that's where you might run into some advantages because of the speed and precision of the Hall effect sensors might improve your odds a little bit. But I'm gonna tell you right now, my thumbs are not nearly as fast as that's going to matter, okay? So unless you're just an extremely skilled pilot, I don't think you're gonna notice, okay? So that all being said, that's a lot of quick overview. One thing I really like about this transmitter that I didn't ever really connect the dots on until after I was about 3 deep in the NX line is that the relief on the trim buttons right here is very low. I have always had trouble hitting the trim buttons on NX series transmitters. They resolved that somewhat because these are bigger and they look cheaper, and they are cheaper, but they stick out further, which means when you're going like this and you're trying to fly, you can get to them easily, okay? Right? So that's actually a huge advantage, okay? Also, there's a full suite of switches here which are identical to what you have on the more expensive and more sophisticated NX10. So that is pretty good. The only thing you don't get is the sliders, but there's no channels to drive, and so therefore no reason to have them, okay? Now, we were talking about this and I got distracted earlier, but you see these little screws that's like a nut? It's actually a nut that goes around these round things for the switch body. They're very awkward to tighten. How do you suppose one would go about tightening this one? Yeah, I don't know how that would work. I'm not sure if this is embedded on a sub platter inside of here, or if you're gonna have to disassemble this whole unit to tighten those screws. But I can say, of all the things that irks me on this, and even better than the weird cow color scheme, would be that being covered.
But
I like that it's smooth.
right.
I also like that this has a scroll wheel and it's got a display, but the display is markedly less bright. Now, admittedly, we can click. Now, this gets in the way of your screen too, I noticed. I didn't notice that before now. If we scroll down to system, oh, monitor? No, that's just monitor. So I'm gonna click, I'm gonna go down to system setup, disconnect RF, the RF comes off, and then we can go into, where do we set that up? There's all sorts of things. Ooh, I'm gonna show you a couple of quick setup items that I like. Channel assign, oh, we need to go to system setup. There we go, system setup. Okay, so 30 seconds for brightness. I want 60 seconds at 100%, okay? This is definitely brighter. It was sleeping, I think. Alarm at 3.5. I want the alarm as low as possible. Default palette is not Spektrum. What are we on? This one's, see, and you can change all these different colors. Personalized, global. I think it's orange.
I think it is the orange. And we just
Yeah.
do that for filming purposes.
Yeah, because it helps out in the sun. You'll be able to see any way you do it. Can you see past this stick thing?
Yeah, I'm down at an
Okay.
angle.
And then the power off config. You can do, oh, it's a power off confirm, okay? So now this is the Swift keyboard. I like the legacy keyboard so that it's just like it always has been. And then channel monitor, you can do 7, 6, 4, or default. Okay, I'm gonna go back to 7 and set date time. Don't care. Factory reset. And then you can calibrate your sticks, okay? And you can move these all to their parameters, center the sticks, and then center the sticks. It is very hard to tell when you're centered because these are not a very high contrast, whereas over here we have very high contrast, okay? So now that we're centered, the knob is also gonna go all the way down, all the way up, and then we'll center it. I like the knob, I think it's pretty nice, okay? So I'm gonna click and save. Throttle high, pretty cool. I do like that this glows because of the cool factor, but I don't like that it glows because it's just wasting battery. Also, in person, I find that this looks a lot better than I thought it was gonna look. But I'm gonna tell you the thing I mentioned when we were doing our unbox, we unboxed this to just kind of mention that we were gonna do it. And we talked about a couple of brief points, but I can say that white is gonna get dirty quicker, a lot quicker.
But this also gets like dusty.
I'm not worried about dust. I'm talking about when people are flying, especially gassers, they're gonna have oil on their hands, they're gonna be dirty. This is gonna have handprints on it, and this is gonna not, okay? Now this rubber wraps all the way around here, okay? This is texturized rubber, okay? I scraped it for the camera, okay? So it's very sticky. You're not gonna drop that easily if you hold it, okay? Now this one, I don't wanna drop it because I gotta still show it work. You can hold it and it's okay, but this thing, I hold it with impunity. I don't feel like it's gonna slip out of my hands. It's also a little bit heavier, like I said. Weight is not necessarily good or bad, it's just sort of a factor. So these factors, hopefully we're answering your questions as we do this. I love the fact that you have all the switches in all the same spots. To me, that's huge. Also, to me, USB-C means you should be able to run this with real flight, okay? So if you're new to the hobby and you want to get the feel of a more expensive transmitter, the shape and size, so you can start developing muscle memory, then you want to go with this, okay? But you want to keep your budget down. Now, you may have heard her talking to us. You're not going to get that on this. You're just going to get beeps.
Yep.
And they're cheap sounding beeps. But is there a vibrator? I don't know if there's a vibrator. Let's go in and just set up the timer. We'll change. I'm just going to take this off actually because I didn't think about that, but that's going to be in the way. Oh, by the way, you can mount that backward too, I think. So like if you want it to go in front of your power switch, then you should be able to do that. Yep. And that's metal, not plastic, okay? So I'm gonna set this to very low time, like 1 minute. And I'm gonna do 1 out active. Oh, look, it's just simple. See how it says tone? It's either tone or inhibit, that's it.
So there is no vibrate then, because
Yep.
it would say tone and vibrate, right?
Yep, so now when we move the stick, we'll just listen for what it is, okay? Now there's also a volume on this, and I can't remember what I pressed to get it back. And then the volume is with the scroll, okay? So if I hit back, I don't know, that's a battery, not a volume, okay? So this has a volume. When you hit back, it brings up the volume so you can make it really loud. So I'm gonna definitely tell you something. This has a lot louder loudspeaker. So I'm curious to hear how loud the alarm is. I probably should have set less than 1 minute. But it's pretty cool just to see that there's some differences. I also like the fact that you can reorganize this, but after having seen that that blocks the screen, it makes me think that's gonna be really bad for us filming wise.
We might have to use...
That is gonna be hard to tell your timer's out, okay? I gotta say. Oh yeah, well, compared to this thing's obnoxious when it goes off.
Well, it is a lot louder.
Okay, so just, and again, we're getting telemetry, so it's less critical. What are we on? Oh, we're on the apprentice stall. Cancel and back. Let's go to the yellow and black. Now, just to be clear, setting up a UMX plane is very simple, but we're gonna do that shortly. Okay, so let's walk out. I'm gonna go down to the timer, just to give you an idea. Let's set this to 0 minutes and 10 seconds, okay?
9, 8, 7, 6.
I have this at 50% volume.
Oh, okay.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And it vibrates, okay? Now, the vibrator on this is weaker than the DX18. So the NX lineup has a weaker vibration feature then, and that just chimed at 1 minute, just so you guys know. Okay, now look at the display. Look at that. It got darker. Now it's awake. Okay, look at this. I've got this set. I'm gonna just show you something. System setup. Hold on, I gotta make sure I don't show anything super critical here. System setup. Okay, we're good. Brightness is on. Do you see that? On. Instead of 60 seconds, I have mine.
There was no on here, was there?
Oh, maybe I gotta scroll down all the way. So click, scroll to system setup, disconnect RF. That does set the stage nicely. I really kind of like that, even though it's wasting battery. Watch this. So instead of 60, on. There we go, boom. Now, again, on just means that you're not gonna go from bright backlight to dim backlight to totally off. You're gonna go from bright and it's gonna stay bright and it's gonna stay bright all the time. And I set that for a reason, because we film, okay? Inactivity alarm at 60 minutes is a long time, but I have had transmitters vibrate like this and end up really dangerously close to the edge of the counters. I don't find that these vibrate like the DX18 did.
Right.
Because the DX18 must have hit like smooth plastic. So anyway, getting back to the point, my whole thing is, I want you guys to understand, when we do these videos, we don't do them to try to force something down your throat that you don't want, okay? Because that's not very productive for us. And it's not helpful for you either. So at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to show some of the details that are not just going to show up in the sales literature, because at the end of the day, obviously we gain, if you buy from the links, we make a few dollars on transactions here and there. But the thing is, for us, it's always a volume thing. So if you guys really like something and you buy a lot of them, then we'll make a little bit of money on it. And if you buy just a couple of them, it's not gonna really matter to us that much. But we do wanna help the hobby to adopt and understand what the values are in this equation, okay? So that's why we do these videos, and we hope that you find that to be helpful as we go through some of these more technical deep dives. You know, talking about the way the buttons feel and things like that. A lot of these things are subjective, but just noticing like the I button, it just feels basically the same, but it's cheaper. This has a concave button, this is convex. So you see it's like an outie, this is an innie, okay? And I gotta say, I mean, I thought this was one of the ugliest things I'd ever seen in my life when I saw the marketing materials. But now that I'm holding it and looking at it, I kind of think it's cool looking, which is a little bit embarrassing because it still does look like a cow.
Our son said the same thing too. Like he didn't like the pictures of it, and then when he saw it
And
the
when
other night, we opened it up. He's like, "Oh,
it kind of looks cool."
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's because we've seen so many other cheap knockoff transmitters and things that have different, you know, like pretty features like this.
Right.
So I can definitely understand where Spektrum was coming from. And yes, Spektrum is probably going to hate the fact that I called this a cow transmitter. But I'm sorry, if you make it look like a cow, then that's what's going to happen. We call ducks ducks because that's what we do on a review channel. But that's not necessarily meant to be some sort of a slanted, angry argument.
Switch and use. I think we're gonna have to use
Metal.
that other
Listen,
lanyard point.
Listen. I want people to understand that's metal.
Yeah.
Show them. Okay? It's metal.
It is metal.
So if you want to use a regular lanyard point, all you have to do is just rip open this. Goodness gracious. That thing is hard to rip. That's some thick plastic. Okay, so the cable that comes with it and then the connection point, okay? So we'll just put this connection point right here, pull the lock over, slide it in, boom. Make sure it snaps, and then you're ready to go, okay? So then also this is the cable. We'll just show you what the cable looks like. It is nice to get these with different 90-degree angles. The only thing I've found is that usually when you get like a USB, it's unusual to see a USB-C with a 90, so that's pretty cool. But one thing I found is they always seem to be angled the wrong way, okay? The reason I like that is that when you lay this down, look what happens. Show them from the side. Is it hitting?
Nope.
Okay.
Barely.
So if I go vertical like this, look at this. You can even pass this thing through the hole here. And the reason I like that is because then you can protect your cable. Because I'm pretty careful with cables because I am a technician by trade. So I work on cables that people have destroyed routinely. Today I did that on multiple devices. You know, it's like if you spend tens of thousands of dollars on an industrial device and then you have some idiot cut it in half, it's kind of annoying for people like me.
Easier.
Yeah, so I am very picky about cable management. So let's plug this in and show you what happens. Now, for grins and giggles, we'll go ahead and shut this off because I think this is a super cool feature. So shutting it off just like what you've seen before. Nothing special there. It does take a second. You can make a confirmation on the power. I like that you can lay that down, but it is bumping. It is full disclosure, it's touching. So you're bearing weight on that, okay? So that means some of you are going to break your connection because of that, right? So plugging this in, ooh, it's so pretty. And I do like, if this wasn't, so it shows how many milliamp hours have come into it. Oh, passes through the top too. So I like the fact that it collapses to a small package. Okay? So that needs to be a little shorter to be as effective as I think they had hoped it might be. Also, you see that? It stands over the top of the cable. Okay? Now, can this be plugged in and on? Let's find out. I don't think so. Ooh, yes, it can be plugged in and on. That's pretty cool. Ooh.
It's like yellow now.
It's yellow, meaning it must be charging. Let's see what happens. Ooh, fancy dance.
Okay.
Very cool. So, guys, I gotta say, now, can you change those colors? System setup. Oh, wait. What does it say down there? Change status or charge status? Oh, cool, look at that. There's a screen on there. That's really nice. System setup, disconnect RF. Now this is Airware, so it's just similar to what you would get on the NX10. Now I have not admittedly updated the last firmware update. Okay, pre-flight setup, frame rate. Looks like we have 11, yep, good. And then next, okay. I'm gonna just go down to system. Oh, there's the palette utilities. There's what I wanted. There's what I wanted. Okay.
But we want the orange background with...
Black, red, and gold.
That's what we usually
Now
use.
that's the color scheme we use, but I'm just gonna tell you that that's what we use because when we get out in the sun, that's what works best for us to film. It doesn't have anything to do with the human eye. You can see it fine on any of those modes. Okay, so let's go back to system settings. I want to see if we can change the color at all. Okay, everything looks fine there. Nope. Okay. So I haven't found it yet, but I'm sure we'll find something at some point. Oh, warnings. Alarm. Over. Flaps. Okay. So it looks ultimately very similar to what we've seen on the NX7e Airwear. And so for that reason, we want to jump into the actual radio setup now for the Waco in red and white. So we'll grab a battery and we're gonna start that now. So we are planning on flying it on 3S. So we're gonna go ahead and set it up using this little slip style that I've made out of tape. Just put the tape on backward and then take a little piece of Velcro. I don't like Velcroing my batteries because I find that it causes me problems later down the road. Okay, so we're gonna unplug that. The lights are gonna go back to the normal color. We'll just unplug this and we'll just leave it powered up because we've already got it powered up. Now, if you guys are curious to see the yellow and black Waco, we're gonna obviously be flying these. These are Ultra Micro Extremes, which are super fun. It's made by E-Flight, which is the same mother brand, if you will, the umbrella brand of Horizon Hobby, which makes Spektrum as well as E-Flight, as well as a variety of other planes. We've done tons of them over the years. And so if you're curious and you wanna see more, we have a we have a domain, brianphillipsrc.com, and you can go over there and you can see sorted by type or brand, manufacturer, and that sort of thing. And all you have to do is just scroll down and we've got all that stuff there. And then we have links that'll be over on your left side. And those links are gonna be our master links to the different manufacturers we work with. And the way you can help support us, that's the easiest and a win-win for everybody, is to just go in there when you're getting ready to make a purchase decision. You can check out the video and then you can make your purchase decision, follow the links, and then we'll make small commissions off of the transactions in that way. And that's how we make this YouTube channel make a few dollars for our family, because it is a huge time investment. Now, even though I love it, my wife tolerates it because I love it and she supports me in that. And so it's always much appreciated. The camera crew, of course, my wife, we call her the camera crew here because it annoys certain people that we want to annoy. And then it's also just kind of the name that she's gotten over the years.
Yep.
Okay. She takes no offense to it.
I do not, none at all.
But some people seem to think she does.
He doesn't call me that any other time.
Never. Nope. She is Megan. So, all right, so we're gonna pull off this lid. Looks really good. Now, this is not meant to be a hybrid review, so to speak, of this airplane, but what I'm gonna do is one thing I meant to do, but we were in a hurry because of the sunlight. These warnings are not actually just warnings here. This is actually a multi-purpose brick, receiver, and a breakout board for all the different functions. So I like to cut that off. And if you're curious or if you're thinking you might need that, you can just stick that into your packaging, or like what I'm gonna do, throw it in the garbage can permanently. That's one of the few times you'll see me do that. Yeah. Because I don't like fighting that label. It's too big, but it is an FCC requirement and a CE requirement for the manufacturer. So they, of course, are going to comply. Oh crap, hold on. I wanna see something. When I pulled, I feel like that board moved a little bit, did it? No, it didn't. It's just in my head. I think the wire just slid forward. Okay, so that one's also filed away permanently, hon. You'll be happy.
Perfect.
I'm curious to see how well these are jigged. Let's see if this fits. Let's see if it fits. Yes, it does. That is pretty incredible. Weird. Yeah, it looks really bad, but it's ironic. So of course, the yellow and black is fully painted, and we've already flown it once, but it was pretty windy, so we're hoping that we get a better opportunity tomorrow, and so we'll be filming that. You guys have probably already seen it, and that's okay if you have. So here we go. We're gonna put the battery into the plane, and this is just gonna go wherever we can get it, basically. Actually, you know what? Check that. We'll just leave that ready to go, and we're gonna set up our model. Now, This is such a simple model that we're not even gonna look in the manual, but if you do have the manual, I'm just gonna show you real quick one detail. When you're looking at the manual for these, especially UMX planes, you're gonna go to a page that looks like this, and it's got NX, DX, and IX series set up. So we're gonna be looking over at this one because that's the one we have. It's on page 4. Page 4, okay? And so what you wanna do is you wanna basically just follow step by step from 1 to 9. We're gonna tell you how to do it, but we're gonna add a couple of extra twists in there to help you make the most of your experience with this particular model. Oh, and then before I forget to mention it, because I know I'm gonna get moved on, there is a large manual that comes with this, and it does have a lot of information, okay? It does not tell you everything you need to know, just trust me on that. And the English stops there, okay? So about 1/4 of the manual would be English. So I assume if it's all things considered in the other languages, you'll probably be about the same for each of the languages. So it's not like you're gonna have a long snooze fest if you read it. It's gonna be shorter than a Brian Phillips RC video. I would suggest you read through it if you're brand new to the hobby. You'll probably learn something you didn't know. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to create a new model. Now this is the #1 model, so we don't technically need to create a new model, but we're gonna do it anyway. You can hit these buttons simultaneously or individually. Together, it takes you directly to that. It's a shortcut. I'm gonna show you the normal method. Now this is recessed more than it is on the NX, which is kind of different. It's down quite a little bit more. The one on the NX is way up on the surface. You see that? Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be a smoother transaction, but you're more likely to hit it on accident. Okay, I just noticed that, that's why I'm bringing that up, okay? So we're gonna click, we're gonna scroll all the way down in System Setup, click, and then click. Model Select, and that's the shortcut we showed you by pressing the back and cancel buttons together, okay? Back and cancel. So we're gonna select the acro, and then we're gonna go to model type, which normally you would be selecting that when you create a new one, and you can do one of these 4. That's a quad, a sailplane, a heli, or an acro. An acro is a standard airplane, so we're gonna do that. Also just notice that glare from the plastic, you see that?
Yeah, it's gonna be a little more clear. I'll try.
So we'll choose that, and we're gonna acknowledge it. Now it's gonna reset everything about that model, okay? So then we're gonna type in the name and we'll come right back. This is the legacy keyboard, by the way. Okay, so Waco UMX, white and red. I like to always show some sort of a size class. So ultra, micro, extreme is what UMX stands for. So we're gonna go with that, okay. Aircraft type, this is where you would put in the wing type. So like if you had flaps or flaperons or something like that, you could do all that stuff. But in our case, it's gonna be the normal wing type. And then it's gonna be select image. So from the standard file, so look right there, good enough for me. Okay. Now we don't need to set up flight modes. We only know that because we already set up the other yellow one on the NX10. And so I'll just walk out of the menu at this point. Okay, so if you click over once, you can see the monitor where all the stick indicators will tell you what position you're in. Okay, you've also got, if there was a channel attached, you'll be able to see it when you move the sticks. Okay. So now I'm gonna walk back into the rates in Expo. I'm gonna set this all to switch F. At the top of the range, I'm gonna set it to 5. Then in the middle, where we're gonna start, I'm gonna set it to 10. And then I'm gonna set this to 20. This is gonna be a largely subjective setup, but it gives me somewhere to start, somewhere to go to if I need to soften the sticks more, if it's too touchy, or somewhere to go if it's not touchy enough. And that's where we're gonna start. Now, we'll do that same exact thing for all 3 of the control axis. So if you're brand new to the hobby and you don't know what I'm doing, this step is helpful to make this thing feel rock solid, but you could technically skip it. And when you have flown for a few days, then you can come back and you'll notice just how much better it feels.
And this is a deviation from the manual,
Yep.
if you're following along in your...
That's right. This is just like our standard starting point. And then we rarely, but occasionally do, deviate from this, and we always show that like in the maiden flight, because if we have a maiden flight and we make a decision, let's say that it's too touchy on the pitch axis or not touchy enough. Let's say for this sake, it's too touchy. So we're gonna go over to elevator. It's too touchy and we landed in that mode. Well, that made the other stick positions to be deadened as well. So we wanna restore this setting to now the middle. So this becomes now 20, so I would scroll that to 20 and I would change my rate maybe to 90 or maybe leave it at 100 and go to 25 or something on the expo. Then I would set this one to about double that. So instead of 25, maybe we do 50 or we do 40 and then we drop the rates down to like 75%. And then this one would become the 10 and 100, okay? So you still have that distinction of the most touchiness where I want a moderate flight performance, and then this would be like the softest sticks, maybe for high speed passes and stuff. I do not change my modes while flying, but I certainly don't want to dedicate 3 switches to it either, okay? The thing that's nice about the NX7 is that you have switches to use for that, okay? Now throttle cut, that should be the first thing, but it's the second, okay? So H. Now, when I move my stick, you'll see that that stays at -100. Now when I turn that off, it goes alive, okay? Pretty cool, throttle cut's back on. Also these sticks, it has this like weird thing down here. Haven't quite figured out exactly how that works.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
It's a different style of base. Okay, so that's obviously working. Now there's also some other features you can turn on there. I don't use them, so I'm not gonna bother with that. Okay, and then there's timer. We're gonna set it to 5 minutes. With a tone alarm and 1 out active. That just means that after 25% stick position on throttle or greater, it's gonna start the timer from 5 minutes and count down. Some people prefer to run the timer without the 1 out active, and what that does is that means if your throttle is below 25%, it just doesn't tabulate the time. So it starts and counts down from 5 minutes to 4.5. Then you're just gliding for a half a minute, then it picks back up as soon as you get back into throttle, okay? I don't like that unless I'm doing a sailplane, okay? Because I feel like it gives you a false sense of security. However, on this particular plane and many of the smart planes that we're working with, we have telemetry data, and we'll show you that here in a minute, and it's gonna give you a bar graph of the battery and a depleted battery life. Now keep in mind the way LiPos work is they charge to 4.2 and they go to about 3, maybe 2.8 on a really discharged condition. 3.3 would be where most people say it's dead, okay? So 3.8 being safe storage level. That's where the chemistry is the most stable, 3.8 or 3.9 on some of the Gen 2 packs, because they want to leave a little bit more in the tank so that it can deplete itself, because there is an active circuit in the smart batteries. This one is not a smart battery. It just looks like it's a smart battery because of the colors. That was weird. Okay, so also along the lines of this battery, it has a JST connection and it has a Hextronics. What the heck? Okay, so there was a bird and the cat is attacking it. This is not our cat.
This is not, yeah, that's not our cat.
Hi, cat. Turn on the light.
No, it's gonna turn on the outside light. There you go.
That's what I meant to do.
Yeah, that's not our cat.
That's not our cat. And yes, there was definitely a bird.
Attacking a bird that was running into the front window.
We were like, what the heck is that? Okay, so we're just gonna let that sit. I was like, okay, well, I guess.
Well, we have one cat that when she wants in and we don't let her in the back door, she'll come
go
to that
up
front
to that
door
fence.
and like look in forlornly.
Yeah.
But she's sleeping over there in the chair, so that's not
Okay,
her.
so getting back to the point, sorry
Batteries.
guys. So this battery has a discharge lead and a balance lead. It has a Hextronics balance lead. So this is 3S, so it's got 4 wires and then the main discharge lead, okay? What I was getting at when we started that conversation, you can also use a 2S battery or the newer 50C 2S batteries, okay? This has the Hextronics 2S as well as the JST, but this old micro pH style connector, like we used to use all the time on our Ultra Micros, they had shorter leads and they were in the E-Flight colors, and we had a lot of issues with them, in my opinion. You can buy an adapter that looks just like this, and this allows you to utilize, okay, This allows you to utilize the micro pH into a JST.
But the old ones.
And we mentioned this in the video, and it's something that we don't like to talk a lot about because we don't do this often, actually. We've had good luck with it. But we did have our first screw up since smart batteries. And that was, my wife had instructed my son to get a battery ready for me. And so he had this adapter plugged in, and he thought he needed to charge it just like he charged this one. Well, that's what happens. This has been charged back to a chemically stable, but very puffed status. It's not hot, it's not dangerous right now, but it was dangerous when we did it. Okay, you can't charge these things improperly, or that's what happens. That's a 2S. This is a 3S, okay? That's what that should look like. That's what a puffed battery looks like. The only reason I show you that is because I want to help save you from that problem. And this is what my son was using as a charging cable. And he had this hooked up and then plugged into the battery. That would be fine if you were charging a battery that had a balance lead that could then be plugged in, because then the charger will balance the cells whilst you're forcing power into the discharge lead, okay? This, however, needs to have a weird cable that looks like this. And even the older styles, we have older styles like this as well that don't have IC3 connectors. But the IC3 connectors will work with the smart chargers. We use an S2200 for like 90% of our charging needs, okay? So that gives you a breakout for your balance lead, as well as, you see this data line? It's not a data line. That's actually the second cell, okay? It goes to there, and that has all 3 wires attached, all 3 pins. And then this does not have a data line because it doesn't need it, okay? That would then plug into this battery via this cable, and then you would just charge it as though it were this, okay? That's safe. It won't cause the puffing unless you charge it really, really, really fast. Don't do that either, okay? So we just wanted to take a minute to talk about LiPo safety for a second. It's always good. I like to teach you guys from my mistakes, but also we don't make that mistake often. It's unusual that we would. And honestly, it was probably my fault for letting that happen, but we did catch it in time, and so nobody got hurt. And just be careful, because there's 2 things that people get hurt in this hobby in general, and that's going to be people getting cut with props, because you're in close proximity to moving props, and you should use a throttle cut and get in the habit of using them if you aren't already, and then LiPos. So just remember, you don't want to come home to a burned down house, and you certainly don't want to come home to a burned down house with your family inside of it. All right, so getting back to the point, I'm gonna stick this in now. We're getting to the point now where we can go ahead and bind this plane. And if you're brand new to the hobby, or you're just getting into the hobby from previous, 20 years ago or something like that, you probably don't know what I mean by binding. Binding is where you set the connection between the transmitter and the receiver. This is also a transmitter, and this is also a receiver. They are both transceivers. This is the transmitter. This is a receiver for easy figuring, okay? This is operating in the DSMX protocol. And so DSMX is a proprietary brand of Spektrum, but there are some off brands that have copied that protocol and they use it on a regular basis. So it is out there on a lot of different technology. DSM2, DSMX, and then there's also DSM, which these technically still talk DSM, I believe. But I haven't had a DSM item forever. So DSM2 would be the alternative to DSMX. DSMX is a frequency hopping protocol. So you can have a bunch of people that are all using them in very close proximity, and they will change frequencies together. So you can have a lot of planes flying with a lot of radios with dedicated connections, and they will frequency hop in harmony. That's what it does, okay? But beyond that, you don't have to switch crystals. So if you had a crystal in your transmitter, you'd have a crystal in your receiver. And back in the day when we were using crystals, we did not have planes this size. At least they were control line, not this. This is a full feature, it's gonna do everything. Okay, so come back here. So we're done with the timer. We're done with everything, but we were talking about telemetry eventually. Bind, yes. that's what it's gonna look like. This will time out after a second. The other thing is you can turn this off and you can press and hold that I button while turning on the power and it will go into bind mode for the model that's selected, okay? So in our case, I'm gonna just go in like this and I'm gonna be prepared and then I'm gonna lay this battery. It's probably gonna time out. It always seems to do that when we're filming, okay? Stick that down, make sure your wires don't get into the front half of the bell housing, okay? And then just remember, if this starts, you need to be prepared to deal with it, okay? So I am basically holding the prop with my hand, my right hand. If that were to start, I would probably stall out the motor, but it would be bad for my hand still, okay? Now, if you had a big prop, you would not do that. And you see I've got my hand here, so it will brace the plane. If it were to start going, it would probably twist and try to cut me. I've only been cut once by props, and it was on that plane, the Aero Commander, and I was doing some funky, stupid stuff. I was trying to calibrate the ESCs. Now you see that blue and red light flashing feverishly? Okay, watch what happens when I bind. You see where my arm is? That's probably not a good idea. I'm gonna move this slightly, but I'm gonna be prepared to control the plane by holding the wheel out of the throw of the prop. Okay, so I'm gonna click. I'm gonna scroll down to bind. You notice it did time out as I suggested. Yes, binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds telemetry. She doesn't talk, which is kind of nice.
Oh, right.
Okay, so you can see that light went to blue and it's moving when I move the sticks. Don't do that with this stick. We have now tested the throttle cut. Throttle cut is on. I'm gonna turn off throttle cut. Throttle cut's on, okay? So we've now tested, we can trust it. I'm gonna hit cancel to clear the timer, and then I'm gonna put this lid back on. Now that we know that light's blue, that light will change with different conditions, okay? What conditions are those, you might ask? The flight modes for safe or AS3X, okay? The way you can tell if you're in safe, come back over here. Safe is sensor-aided flight envelope or sensor-assisted flight envelope. So when you let go of the sticks, on a normal plane, it goes like this and crashes or veers off and eventually crashes. With safe, when you let go of the sticks, it's gonna do two things. It's gonna limit your roll and your pitch angles. Your yaw is not impacted. And so when you get to a certain point, it's gonna stop you from tipping over more. And when you go to a certain point like this, it's gonna stop you. Now that does not mean you won't stall and fall, but it does mean that you're not gonna be able to control it beyond that, in that direction. It'll let you go down, but it's also gonna limit you there too. In normal AS3X mode, that's stabilized mode, and you get AS3X in safe as well, okay? So it goes like this, artificial 3-axis stabilization. So 3-axis of control, you have pitch, roll, and yaw, okay? So that's yaw, pitch, and then roll, okay? So there's 3 axes of control that you as a pilot are controlling, and then a couple of other features. Okay, but for all intents and purposes on any fixed wing aircraft, you're gonna have pitch, yaw, and roll. There may also be flaps and some different various features like retracts or throttle and things like that, but you're always gonna have pitch, yaw, and roll because you have to control where you are spatially, okay? You have a vote, AS3X has a vote. What is AS3X doing? AS3X is a stabilizer. So what happens is when you're flying along and the wind pushes your wing down, which will happen more often than you think, the ailerons are going to go down on this side and up on that side to counter that impact, notwithstanding what I'm doing. Same thing there on yaw axis. Same thing there on pitch axis. Now, because this is such a small model, you're not going to be able to see it very good. And so you have to take my word for it, but you'll feel it when you're flying because what's going to happen, and you can hear it singing as it bounces along. That's the correction of the stabilizer, okay? Now, if auto leveling is on, what would you expect to happen to the ailerons if you were upside down? You would expect that to happen. I am going to the level point, and then the computer is picking the fastest route to level. See? Now, the other thing you can do is when you're in safe, look at the elevator, come up close. When it's pointed down, nose to the ground, what's the elevator doing? It's trying to pull out of the dive. Now it's pretty much happy. Now look, it's trying to pull out of the climb. You see how this has come up? Watch what happens when it's level. It stops about there, okay? Now look at the ailerons. The ailerons are pretty flat, so it's gonna fly level. What happens there? Look, this one's pointed up and this one's pointed down. It's trying to roll the plane to level, okay? That's called auto leveling. That's part of SAFE technology, sensor assisted flight envelope. SAFE uses AS3X to operate auto leveling, okay? So AS3X is also active while SAFE is on. If you're confused, don't feel bad. It's kind of confusing when you're brand new to the hobby, but once you've got the hang of it, it's no big deal. Now, how do you impact change on SAFE? I want SAFE off. In this model, you just change the gear switch and you can hear it's quieter now. Like it stopped humming and buzzing and all that. Watch this, throttle cuts off. Over 25%, you see the scarf? Over 25% throttle cuts on. You see the rudder? Look at the rudder. It's trying to resist movement. But then watch this. Because I'm not doing anything with the stick, it's gonna do what AS3X tells it to do. But now I voted that I want it to be all the way over. AS3X is still gonna be active, but my stick condition is calling for it to go there, okay? Now I've let go of the sticks. When I rock it this way, it resists the same way. When I rock it that way, it resists that way. Do a slow sweeping maneuver to see easier, okay? Now same thing with the elevator. This is not SAFE, this is AS3X, it's stabilization. Going up, it goes up. Going down, it goes down. Bring the camera here and let's watch this point here. It's very easy to see from here. Go back just a little bit. See this? Watch this. I'm gonna go up. See, it resists. And then down, it resists. So as you can see, the whole horizontal stabilizers here, elevators here. Watch the elevators. Up and then down. That's how you know the stabilizers work in the right direction. Same thing here. Let's watch that come toward us when I pull it toward us. Toward us, it's hard to see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it this way and then give you the same demo. See that? Goes to the left, now goes to the right. And go more aggressively, but it's gonna be harder for you to see. Now, same thing with the ailerons. You can feel this too. If you put your hand on it and you roll the plane, you'll probably feel it. See, when I lift the wing, this goes up. Watch this spot here. Up, down, up, down. Are you able to see it?
No.
Just give me the camera then. I'll do it. Okay, guys, watch. See, right there is what we're looking at. Up, down. See how it goes down? See how it goes up? See how it goes down? All I'm doing is just rolling the plane. That's how you can test your surfaces are working. Now, there's two surfaces here, so it is always a good idea to check both sides, especially if you're set up with flaperons, which we're not currently, okay? So then same thing on the rudder. This one's gonna be a little trickier to film. Now you can take my word for it, but I would like you to be able to see it, okay? So you see when I roll, it goes that way. When I roll, it goes this way. When I roll, it goes that way. When I roll, it goes this way. Same thing with the elevator. Down, up, down, okay? You guys hopefully get the point. The idea is the stabilizer is going to make the plane fly like it's a bigger plane. That takes tuning and skill, but in a bind and fly plane, you notice it's quiet now because it's holding still. There's nothing to correct until it moves, okay? That takes skill. Now, we need to also check the control surfaces. So we always do this with the plane pointing the same direction. Elevator up, elevator down. So imagine you're sitting in there and you're the pilot. You push down, it's gonna go down. You pull back, it's gonna go up, okay? That's gonna roll your plane to the left. That's gonna roll your plane to the right. Now this is gonna yaw your plane to the left, yaw your plane to the right. And then this is your throttle. Throttle cut is on. If you go to monitor mode by scrolling over, you can see the throttle. There's no throttle because we have throttle cut on, okay? Now also, if you scroll a little bit further, you can see some telemetry data, which is really nice. And there's our voltage of the pack. I'm gonna hold the tail, shut off my throttle cut, and then show you what happens when we load this circuit. That's the way a LiPo works. Now watch, it's gonna recover. See how it recovers? So what's gonna happen is there's a certain amount of capacity, and when you load it, it's gonna drop, but then it's gonna bounce back. It's almost like a sponge. You squeeze it, then you let go and it comes back. You squeeze it, you let go and it comes back. You squeeze it, you let go and it comes back. You squeeze it. Eventually, there's no more water coming out of it. It's empty. Okay, so the recovery is not quite as full. But we only operate on about this much of the range of the battery. This is 0 volts, this would be like 4.2. So we use this range. And if you chart that drop, it drops like this. So we need to stop it from getting to the range where it becomes chemically unstable and basically puffs the pack like what we did to that one, and then potentially causes the lithium to break free into the atmosphere, and then it becomes so chemically unbalanced that it can catch fire. So that's what happened with people that had Samsung cell phones for a while back. That was a few years ago. And they were having problems with the batteries catching on fire. Okay, that's a lithium ion battery, I think, actually, not a lithium polymer. This is lithium polymer. We also use soft packs in airplanes, which is a little bit different than cars. Cars and trucks use hard packs. They have a plastic caser out of, they're a lot heavier. And there's your timer. Okay, now, as we mentioned earlier, the timer is not as relevant to us because we have this nice little telemetry feature. And so when I get ready to fly, that's what I'm gonna look at, okay? So hopefully we've answered all your questions. This plane is ready to fly. And yes, in our radio setup, we do beat a dead horse, especially on planes that might be flown by beginners. Now, is this gonna be a beginner plane? Probably not, but if you want a beginner plane, you can just hang tight there, camera crew. All sorts of amazing options on Brian Phillips RC that you can look at. We literally have a beginner plane list. This would be a perfect option. It's gonna give you lots of good features like brushless motor, the same batteries that you use in this, because this is 3 or 2S compatible. This one flies on 2S, I believe, right, hon? But what's gonna happen is this is made of EPO, which is a different, more soft foam that's expanded a little bit more flexible. This is made from EPS. And so it's more brittle and more stiff, okay? Stiff and brittle is good for looks, and it's good for flight performance because you can make it very light. This is sub 250, which means no FAA requirements for drone registry, any of that crap. You can just fly it, okay? But this one here is going to give you a better chance at success because it is a bigger plane that's a little bit easier to manage for a new pilot. It's also gonna fly a little bit slower. It's got a thicker wing. It's got a deeper wing chord here, and then it steps down. It's a little bit thinner here. That helps with controllability. And it's very robust, and it's gonna take some bumps and bruises. I would not do that to the Waco, but this thing will survive being tipped over a lot easier, okay? So just to give you an idea, if you're brand new to the hobby, or maybe just coming right back to the hobby from like a 10-year hiatus or a 15-year hiatus, this would be probably fine for a skilled pilot that was skilled from yesteryear. You're gonna fly and say, oh my goodness, what have I been missing? Or if you want to be a little bit more intelligent and wise about it, get this as a ready to fly. It'll come with its own transmitter. And I think everything but maybe a flight pack. And that way they can meet the compulsory FAA rules and stuff, okay? So when you buy that, just make sure you get all the goodies you need. This is gonna come with just the plane. It's what they used to call bind and fly basic. And that means that you get the plane without the battery. So we'll link to the plane, the battery, and then of course the transmitter that we used in this video. Since this is an NX7e transmitter review video, we're gonna link to that obviously. But my suggestion to you if you're returning to the hobby is you might wanna just kind of not do that, skip the middle step and go straight up to something a little bit more robust with more channel offerings, okay? Now I gotta say, I stand a little bit corrected on this because yes, I was making fun of its looks, but honestly, this thing is feature packed. It actually has some improvements on that, which is a little bit frustrating for me because I love my 10, but the truth is USB-C is probably the biggest upgrade. But you lose Wi-Fi, you lose voice, which depending on who's talking, that could be good.
Right. Well, and you like the trim buttons.
I like the trim
a
buttons
lot better.
They're a little bit steeper, they're a little bit longer, or maybe there's just more of a relief around the trim buttons here. So these are probably easier to bump, okay? So that all being said, that's a lot to take in a relatively long video, which is what we do on Brian Phillips RC. We never do short videos because short form, I shouldn't say we never do it. We do them occasionally. And the only reason we do them is to appease the gods at Google because they are all-knowing, all-powerful, and almighty,
Apparently
as we know. Slight facetiousness from Brian Phillips RC today. But as you guys may have been aware, if you follow Brian Phillips RC, we have something like 1,900 videos. We've been doing this for our audience for like 9 years. We started out literally in our front yard. I love this stuff. I've always been obsessive with RC stuff, but RC airplanes was something I didn't have as a kid. I would have killed for something like this. I would have killed for something like that as a kid. I literally had wish lists for my birthday that said an airplane big enough that I can fly inside, you know, with all these things. Of course, I'm just listing off features. It's just like the FAA does when they write rules. So anyway, well, 20 years later, we've got what I wanted as a kid, which is pretty awesome. Better late than never. But that being said, we also have a few more of them too, all the way up to SR71s. We've got this F7F here, a PA-18, or excuse me, PA-18. What is this one down here? That's the Ranger. There's just so many different planes, amazing offerings. We've got a Viper jet back there, a T-28 that's 2 meters. And these are just what's in my living room. You should see the basement if you think that's bad, ladies.
You shouldn't see the basement.
It's
embarrassing.
Oh. It's floor to ceiling. It's not embarrassing. It's awesome. But that being said, we do love doing this, but one slight wrinkle has appeared, and that is from the mothership, Google, the all-knowing, omnipresent, omnipotent powers that be. The ones that listen to everything you say, do, and thought about while you're pooping on your cell phone. Yes, Google. That's who we're talking about. Alphabet. Check them out on the World Wide Web. You may have heard of them. They own YouTube, obviously, and every other tech company for the last 50 years. It's called a monopoly. Their problem now is that they don't want creators who are partners in the YouTube partner program to like make revenue on links, okay? Because the way it works is very simple. You see links in the video description below. They are afraid that you are gonna never come back to YouTube. Because like, God forbid you wouldn't come back for 10 minutes. And you would go out and buy an airplane and then you'd be like, hey, I gotta go back to that video. I forgot to get the battery ordered. So then you'll look back in the video description. God forbid you would watch 7 more ads because Google is so poor.
They're really hurting.
They're hurting for cash, evidently. So anyway, they figured the best way to accomplish their goal of making all the money and complete control of your lives and my life would be to start blocking our links because they are dangerous somehow. So a link that says Waco, and it's under a heading that says Horizon Hobby, Waco. When you click on that and it brings up Waco images like this, and then you click on them and you buy them. I mean, that is dangerous to your budget. It is probably dangerous to your wife, but it is not dangerous to you because you want this plane, okay? Or you want this NX7e, or you want this NX10, or you want this 6,000 milliamp hour battery, or whatever it is that we happen to be reviewing at a given time, whether it's a weed whacker, you know, a hay baler, or a tractor. It doesn't really matter what we're reviewing. We've done so much variety of things, including chainsaws, weed whackers, leaf blowers, air chucks. I mean, we had kittens at one point. I'm just kidding. We didn't actually sell the kittens. It was just shameless advertising.
No, we gave them away.
We did. We turned our 3 into 11 in just 6 months. Would have been more. But anyway, we're back to 3, guys. Don't freak out. There's one right there. That's our lion.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Google has decided that, you know, take partnership and trample your partner is the best way because they're the ones that make the content, and therefore we're going to go ahead and earn and keep our cut first from all your production, and then, but God forbid you would make anything on the side. So just to give you an idea of our small business, it's very small, okay? 2/3 of our business comes from people buying stuff. 2/3 to 3/5 of our business comes from people buying stuff. The rest is like ad revenue and just random stuff, okay? So when you think about it from that perspective, if you went to the grocery store and your grocer carried dairy and vegetables and protein, meat, and you said, okay, well, that business model is 1, 2, and 3, right? So they got 100% of their business, 33% for each of them. Google is saying, you know what? We're just gonna go ahead and take all the meat and all the dairy. You can keep the veggies. That's what Google is saying right now. But they're not just saying it to us. They're saying it to hundreds of thousands of hardworking people like us. I work a full-time day job. My wife takes care of our 4 kids, and she does a full-time day job called taking care of this. And then I come home and work a full-time day job doing this too. So we're where we are because we work hard, and we've given 9 years to doing this for the hobby, and Google is trying to take it away. And we are not gonna lay down and roll over, because that's not what we do. Now, some people will lay down and roll over, and they'll probably just leave the channel, okay? We're not gonna do that. We're gonna fight them tooth and nail until the last second. And that's the truth, because I'm just hard-headed like that. And so we hope you guys can appreciate that. If you're anything even remotely interested in RC, just check out some of our other content. And I hate to even bring this to you. I don't want to put this on your plate, but I have to, because this is where we need your help. If you want to help us, the way you can help us is obviously watch the videos, like the videos, you know, show YouTube like, hey, listen, stop attacking people that are doing the right thing by you. We follow all of their insane policies that change constantly. They don't even know what we've done wrong. They can't communicate exactly what the problem is with our links. They're just doing it for your safety, okay? So in case you want to follow a link that says Horizon Hobby and then it takes you to a website called Horizon Hobby, then yeah, it's pretty dangerous.
Consider yourself warned.
Yeah. So that being said, and the way that works is then they'll know that we sent you there, and so then they'll send us commissions if you buy stuff, okay? It's a very basic model, but it's a volume model, okay? So if we have hundreds of thousands of you buy this, that would be great for us, and guess what? The people that work with us will love us, okay? But we're not gonna sell hundreds of thousands of these. That would be like a wet dream of all the marketing agents that we work with in China, okay? That's not the way it works in real life, okay? We'll sell 20 of them on an amazing plane, okay? So that being said, this is a great product. The second way you can really help us, and this is the biggest way, is you can follow the links that are in the video description and give the good old one-fingered salute to Google, because that's exactly what they deserve right now. They need to be smacked down by not just us, but the likes of the biggest YouTubers like Mr. Beast of the world and Casey Neistat's, because they understand what it's like to really have helped build a platform like YouTube back when they were on MySpace. Okay, I never had MySpace. So that being said, I hope you guys can appreciate this is 9 years, and they're trying to attack something that's critically important to this business. And so we want you guys to help support us. Now, if you want to help us more, hit us up on Patreon. You can support us there monthly, or you can even do YouTube membership, which they will keep their cut, just so we're clear, and then YouTube super thanks. Now, a lot of inside baseball on this video and recent videos. Trust me, if we get this resolved, I'm going to shut up about it, and we're going to go on like it never happened, because we just kind of want to get back to normal. My wife has probably spent 50 hours the last 3 weeks. We were in Alabama on a special event, and guess what she was doing? She was sitting on a laptop fighting with Google.
Yep.
While we were at an event. It was infuriating. So anyway, this is the real world. This is the real nasty, dark world of Google, okay? They pretend to be big and happy and safe and everybody's inclusive, whatever BS they come up with tomorrow, okay? But really what happens is they hurt all the people that are their partners. Buy these things, help say thanks, and help put them in their place.
And if you can't find the link down below because
go to
it
Brian Phillips
doesn't
RC.
exist, go to brianphillipsrc.com.
BRIAN. It's spelled like it is in the title, wherever my face is. Just look right there, brianphillipsrc.com. Okay? That's our domain. We own it. And guess who we got it from? Actually, we didn't get one. We got that one from...
No, that's from Google.
We got it from Google.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the BPRC.me links, those are our links.
From
we
Google.
also bought those from Google.
Yeah, those are our short
But
links
they're super
that we own.
dangerous, according to Google, the people that sold it to us. And anyway, so if you have more questions, leave it in the comments below. You guys have been wonderful to us over the years. We are not going to go down without a fight. But the truth is, this is literally how channels die, and we're not ready for that to happen yet. So give us the lifeblood that we need and help us with the one-fingered salutes. Anyway, guys, if you haven't seen this fly yet, by the way, that video should have already been published. If you're this deep in the video, you should be able to watch that right now, and we'll have flights with this. And flights with this, you can juxtapose the two. They should fly virtually exactly the same. And then also, full disclosure, I just wanted to talk about safe. I think I might have forgot one thing. Okay, so I have the switch back toward my belly here. I want that to be the other way around so that's safe, okay? I'm gonna go to servo, setup, travel, reverse, and that's the gear channel. You can tell by moving it. You can see it in the little monitor, okay? So now that means when it's toward me, safe is on. When it's away from me, safe is off. Now, let's go into a dark room so they can see this. You see this? See the red glow? That's AS3X. That's safe, okay? You can tell it's safe because it's auto leveling. So the blue glow is safe and the red is AS3X. Now this one's gonna show through the foam a little bit more because the yellow and black is fully painted, okay? So you're gonna get a couple grams extra weight. But it's gonna be definitely almost not negligible in my opinion. And I love both colors, okay? Which is ironic because we're Iowa fans. So Iowa Hawkeyes, we're in central Iowa, USA. In case you guys don't know what that means, that's a university in Iowa, the University of Iowa, Hawkeyes. Ironically enough, looks like the Cyclones. So, Iowa State, Iowa. All of you Iowa fans and Iowa State fans, eat your hearts out. You could put a little yellow on there and dress it up if you wanted.
You could even make it look like Nebraska.
Sorry. All that talk of Google got me worked up. All right, guys, you get the full story here on Brian Phillips RC. We don't cut any corners. That's why our videos are so long, and I'm long-winded. So if you've ever met me in real life in person, that is exactly who I am, and it will probably drive some of you nuts, so I apologize in advance. But also, you're not gonna get that much detail anywhere else because nobody else has the patience for it. And I am somehow very patient with machines. Just ask my wife. It does not necessarily translate to other humanoids. So guys, thanks so much for enduring our complaints about Google too. We really hope that that ends very quick and that we can come to fruition. Now, also one other detail, it's very dark outside, so you can't see, but we are literally working on our pond right now. I mean, they're not right this second because it's like, you know, 1:56 a.m. And yes, show them the clock.
It really is.
This is the life of a YouTuber.
Who told their wife this video would take 20 minutes, by the way?
Well, I mean, I don't remember when we started. So it's probably like 20 minutes ago.
Or an hour and 17.
This timer said 16 minutes past, so it's like 20 minutes since I started talking about Google. So guys, if you're curious about the pond, we will have videos on that. There may actually be some stuff in the flight video, but we're just trying our best to give you guys like a thorough overview of that because it's one of the coolest projects we've ever done. And if you're curious, like this house, we built this house while we were doing our YouTube channel. And I remember flying a helicopter through that opening before the glass got in it.
Before there was glass in there.
So if you guys are curious about this house or curious about this property that we live on, we have documented quite a bit of it. It's in the non-plane videos playlist.
I think we actually have a house build.
Yes, we do.
Too, if you want to like actually,
and we have bridges in there too.
Yeah, see the house.
We had three different bridges we've built over the years, one of which collapsed right away because it was built off of a deadfall bridge. Yeah, but it was before we bought the property too.
Yeah.
And then we built a bridge we used for our tractors to get across, and then we bought the land next to us, so we were no longer, you know, landlocked, so we could actually drive in from the approach on the road. But we still use it all the time, and it's really fun. But this is going to be about 0.81 acres. This pond, it'll be about 25 feet deep, which is pretty deep. And it's going to cost a lot more than we wanted it to, but it's going to be a lot more awesome than we could have imagined. But it's also weird because we look out this window and there used to be trees wrapping this side, and now the trees are like gone. And that happened in one day. It was crazy.
They're not gone. They're just in a giant, giant, giant pile.
Yeah, and they may disappear. I don't know how. Probably
magically.
I don't know. Maybe lightning will strike.
Maybe. I bet.
But either way, guys, we hope we've answered all your questions and then a little bit more. And as always, we know you guys are going to support us how you can financially, which is going to come from buying these things from the links in the video description below. And if the video description below does not have links, just go to brianphillipsrc.com. That is still allowed to be in our About tabs. You click on my face, it's going to bring up the banner. It used to have like all the different links to like Facebook, Instagram, all that other crap. You know, if you had Twitter and things like that, it would be right there on icons. Now it's like one thing that says like links. Because Google's hurting for cash, guys, so you got to make sure you line their pockets, which is very frustrating for us, and I'm trying to make sure I do it in a way that's fair because we are on their platform. They can literally change the policy to whatever they want, And don't you dare say it's a public company, because it is not. It is privately held by people like me. I own Google, and you probably do too. I own Google, and then I own Google in a 401k, and then I own Google in some private brokerage accounts, and you probably do too. So when they start talking trash and making big mistakes, remember, just like when Elon bought Twitter and changed it to X so nobody knows what to call it, we can just buy Google and tell them to shut up. So if you have a few $100 trillion sitting around, you can probably do that. It'd be great if you would do it. But while you're waiting, buy some awesome planes from the links and you'll help support us. And don't forget to vote to kick out the board of directors in Google. So Google, if you're listening, you're on notice. Thanks. All right, no more from Brian Phillips RC right now, but there is so much more right around the corner. Thanks for watching. All right, YouTube, we forgot in our dark unbox, it's obviously daylight now. We wanted to mark the CG on this just to prove that we can balance. Okay, so you can see those two red dots. I marked in kind of a different spot because I wanted to blend in with the finish. And you can see it's really hard to get your fingers in there, but I'll show you where our battery is and just show you that we're basically balanced there, okay? I can tell it's balancing on my fingertips, okay? See where the battery is? I'm just pushing it, onto the Velcro. And it's close to the motor mount. Now, there was one other detail that I forgot to mention, and I should mention now while we're in the shade. How's the glare?
You're good right there.
Okay, so go to servo setup. I set all my travels to 97 instead of 100. Okay, so you can do less if you want, but my suggestion is to do at least a couple percent. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna help prolong the life of your long throw linear servos, okay? Now this video is more about the NX7e than it is about the Waco, but we felt like it would be unfair to the Waco since we did all our setup on that plane to not then have at least some flight video of the plane that we set up. So we're gonna do that right now on 3S 300 milliamp hour, and we'll be right back. Also, this lanyard comes from a guy that makes these out of paracord. They're really high quality. If you're interested, we'll link to it down below, guys. All right, here we go. Throttle cuts off, control surfaces tested, and we're out of safe right now, so giving it some throttle. Oh yeah, look at that, so good. Up on the mains, you can just walk around with it. I'm at 25% throttle, folks. So beautiful. Guys, gotta love the red and white. It looks really good. Very light on its feet, very wide flight envelope. But 100% throttle there for that small, short-lived knife edge. 100% throttle here just to show you. That's so cool, but it's gonna be hard for the camera crew. Out of the throttle, just letting it tractor for a dead stick landing. Oh, that is so nice, guys. I could have landed that on a sidewalk square. And speaking of, this is sub 250, which is good. Here we go. Get that tail wheel up, walk it on its mains. Let's go for a walk, doggy. Okay, take it off! I was talking to John the other day, and he was saying, YouTube wouldn't be the same without you screaming at it. So thanks, John, from Two Brother. We were talking the other day about our YouTube woes. Because YouTube is, of course, trying to shut down our links because they're so devastating to their income stream, God forbid we'd make a few dollars on the side. It'll probably drive them out of business, I think. Oh, guys, you never see low passes upside down. Whoa, buddy! Just kidding. That was totally controllable. This plane is very ambidextrous up and down. So I love the way it flies. Inside out loops. Switch to right side. And then right down the runway, right next to the camera crew for a knife edge. Oh, no! I didn't almost hit that tree, guys. That was just for dramatic effect. And actually, that was the line I wanted. Sometimes when I scream like a girl, that's usually a good indicator that I actually didn't mean to not hit it. And I saved it by seconds. Guys, I gotta say, I like the yellow and black, but then now that I'm flying the white and red, I like the white and red. It's so tantalizing because this plane comes in two liveries And the 2 liveries have benefits for each plane. So this might be one of the rare occasions that we're like, just get both. Oh wait, I say that all the time. Never mind.
Well, there isn't usually both to get.
I know, Horizon like never does 2 liveries at the same time. They might have 2 liveries available at the hobby shop because there was the old one available still. But they generally, the way it works is some of their brands that build their planes for them will not support parts if they discontinue a plane. So basically they're like, we're not gonna do that to our customers. So, which is good. I mean, Horizon sometimes gets a bad rap for some of their business decisions, and sometimes they deserve it, but I would say that generally speaking, they are very customer focused, and that's how you get to being the biggest, guys. Also, you gotta remember, we're in a hobby that's very niche-y, okay? Most of us are not flying extreme flight planes. Most of us are not flying CARF jets. Most of us are not flying giant scale planes because it's just not possible budget-wise for the average Joe. Or the average Joe has to give up too many family cars to pay for such things. Stay on your mains, Brian, stay on your mains. Oh, come on. Yes, I finally got a good touchdown. I tell you what, man, this thing likes to bounce. That was the best one I've had so far. No soup for you. Down the runway again. I gotta say, flying these biplanes is so much fun. And when it's nice and calm and you've got good lighting and you got a good backdrop so you can see well and you aren't up against a tight time frame and you didn't crash into the house at all, it's so much fun. And by the way, make no mistake, folks, this plane, I just wanna tell you something. Right here, we're flying on about 175 feet of runway, okay? So that's like an average, yeah, not an average, but maybe like a bigger city lot. But just to give you an idea, right here, I'm flying in a front yard. That's probably a 10,000 square foot front yard right there. Okay, now, yeah, it's a little bit tight. It wouldn't be the most tantalizing experience, but as long as you keep that thing G-loaded, meaning you keep your airspeed and you're pulling into the turns, you can tight turn like that all day long. And I'm just doing this to make my camera crew feel sick. Just kidding.
But if you live, if you have a park a block away from your house and you can walk to the park, you can easily fly there. You don't need acres and acres of
Which is true.
Space.
By the way, we're about 2.5 or 3 acres up here, okay? The rest of our property is behind the house. Most people don't know that. And that's fine. But when we have the pond done, our hope is that we can fly into a large expanse. We also have permission from the neighbors. We're in Class G airspace. And soon enough, we'll have remote ID modules if we don't get a FRIA approved, okay? So guys, we're probably gonna have to be compliant. I hate it, it's disgusting. It makes me wanna projectile vomit thinking about it, but I don't really care. I love flying too much. And to be honest with you, I just kind of hope somebody sues the FAA. Somebody that's got lots of deep pockets, very, very deep pockets. They say, stop making decisions that hurt aviation. It's not necessary. And yes, I am a manned aircraft pilot as well, meaning I have no license, I fly Part 103. I have an aircraft in my garage right now. I own an airplane. I didn't pay very much for it, $1, but still. The truth is, I understand aircraft and I understand being safe. That's why I did that literally at the same time. But I mean, really, fixed wing aircraft are not part of our problem at all. I would say that they are the least of our worries. Oh, jeez. So now I gotta say something about this plane real quick while I get off of my tangent about the FAA. Is that this plane, if you fly it, I wanna get in here. Oh, come on. You got it. Oh yeah. It's just, I think what's going on with it in terms of trying to bounce on landing is that we do have pretty nice soft tires, but it's just so dang light. There's just like nothing there. See, if you can taxi like that, did you see the bump? That's crazy. I'm trying to taxi all the way down the runway. That is so much fun, guys. And I keep hearing chickens. I know you guys can't hear it in the video, but I'm hearing chickens clucking in the background. It's hilarious. When we lose the foliage on the trees around fall time, we start hearing the neighbors. And the neighbors are chickens. And what else?
Mostly chickens. Oh, no, peacocks.
Yeah, peacocks. And then there's some cows back there,
There's some cows too.
One wheel, one wheel, one wheel. The other wheel. Whee! So also you want to have your grass nicely manicured if you want to get the best out of this plane. Also keep in mind when you're on your downwind pass, you're going to be moving faster ground speed than you were on your into the wind pass. And I'm with the wind. I just noticed it. That's crazy because it's at our face right now, folks. Over the cherry that you can't see, it's invisible. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, a little bit better. But you see what's happening? It's getting kicked at an angle. Mm-hmm. So now, any bets on if I can take off there? 3 minutes and 38 past our 5, we should be fine. Oh yeah, no problem. That was full throttle and a little bit of elevator. Got in the air, no problem, folks. You'll love this plane. If you get it, you will not regret it. It flies every bit as good, if not better, than other UMXs that we've had lately. And they are getting so good, folks. I know some of you are gonna say, oh, hey, we don't want another small plane, we want a big plane. I'm sorry, I want this plane. I love these planes. I love that it's sub 250. I love that it's sub 250. That means that it opens up doors for people that are not gonna comply and don't wanna go to the pokey. And that's good. Let's do a prop hanger real quick here. Yeah, it's got enough, but you gotta be a better pilot than me, let's put it that way. Okay, so there is definitely enough juice to do the thing, okay? But I'm gonna suggest this. If you do a prop hang, maybe don't do it at 10 minutes of flight time. I think that's what the beep was. Did you hear the beep from the transmitter? I did hear the beep. This transmitter does not have, oh, that was a 1 minute beep. I thought maybe it was like a low voltage beep. You see how it's getting pushed?
Yeah. That
explains the weird wingtip issue.
That was your 1 minute beep right there.
That's another 1 minute beep. Oh, it was a different beep.
It was a different beep. You might be getting close to the low voltage.
Yeah, but then the plane would, oh, maybe that's what's going on. I think that's what's going on, camera crew. Hey, let's try doing one. Step back 10 steps right now. The other way, the other way, the other way, the other way. Toward the door. Thank you.
Can't use mind.
It's beeping, guys. There's the critically low alarm. Do you hear it? There it is. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good stuff, guys. Okay, now the reason I had the camera crew moving the other way was because I wanted to final, oh, right there in the grass. Okay, I wanted to go at an angle like this and see if we could keep it on its mains really nice. Okay, so as you can see, that grass is pretty tall. And let's see if we damage anything. Oh, yes, we didn't damage anything at all. So happy. But that being said, we can't end on a crash. We're gonna take off and land again because even though we're at critically low, the right thing to do would be to just go ahead and call it. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take off and land again. I'm just gonna be very careful with my power. Okay, now the wind's picked up a little bit. We'll just bring it in. We got a long runway. We should be fine. Don't push the envelope, Brian. Just fly it. Oh, that was okay. I'd live with that.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta say one thing about this plane. It's gonna challenge you on landings, which is fun. Goodness gracious, Brian, calm down. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't necessarily challenge you for normal, ordinary flying because it just does such a dang good job. And if you do need safe, yes, there is safe. What a sweet looking shadow. So guys, love the plane. Super impressed. Really, genuinely super impressed with how well the NX7e did. This thing has so many features. I almost think it probably doesn't make sense for them to release something like this because opposite the NX6, it's just gonna kill it. Because the features that you get in the NX6, I don't think most people need, but they do need the features that are here, okay? Having that full 7th channel as opposed to like a partial 7th channel is gonna make the difference on some planes, okay? So that being said, I'm not sure Honestly, if it was good money after bad, I would tell you that, but I don't know that that is. This is gonna cover enough planes for a long enough duration that for most people that are just getting into the hobby, it's gonna justify a few bucks, okay? Now that being said, when you get ready to move up to the 10 or the NX20, and I'm gonna just say, this is what most people do at clubs, okay? They're gonna get something like this, they're gonna get in the air. And then they're just gonna go straight to the iX20, or they're gonna go straight to the NX20. They're not gonna mess around because they're gonna have enough interest in the hobby that they know, and that's what I did. I went to the DX18, okay? Now remember, that was earlier, that was when everything we had, we were buying, we weren't working with any manufacturers. But now I can tell you this unequivocally. The NX10 has done almost every single thing we wanna do, and then more. And it does a perfectly good job at it. So you don't have to go to an iX20, but I also don't wanna stop you. Just make sure you follow the links if you're buying that stuff. That being said, really good transmitter. This is a great choice if you are brand new to the hobby. The only complaint I really have on this is the cow configuration. When I saw it, it didn't look as good on the literature. But seeing it in person, it looks sweet. And as we were getting ready to come out here, our son was telling us how much he liked it. And so I'm like, okay, great. I'm just an old fogey now. But then this line, it's glowing. It's glowing orange right now. So it goes with the Spektrum. Now, if you plug this in, it goes to yellow and it stays on to the USB-C. And then if you plug it in while it's off and it's charging, it goes to green. There's also a charge screen that tells you the status of the charge. That being said, the efficiency I would assume is probably slightly better than in previous offerings like the NX8, the NX10, the NX6, because there's less stuff going on inside of here. It still has the memory card slot. It still has accessibility to go up to a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, which is, by the way, really expensive. They're like 55 bucks or something. So if you ask me on an economy transmitter, just live with what you got unless you really need it, okay? But keeping in mind, if you went up to an 8, which I believe also comes with a 6, or sorry, 2,
The 2.
then you could put that into that. Or you could take your 2 and your other 2 and make a parallel connection and have a 4, which is what I did for my son's transmitter. Okay.
I think you have to go up to the 10 to get the 6 included. Yes.
But you get a lanyard with the 8, I believe. Also,
Yes.
this has this weird unlock feature where this thing can come out, which is kind of weird and also cool. Oh, it just snaps in too. So you can take that out. It comes with another one that's bent, but I felt like it blocked the screen too much for video footage. And also, I gotta say, this screen is harder to see because it's not as dull as that screen, and it's recessed into the mount. So the NX10 is a little easier for us to film when the sun is like this, which even when the sun's like this, even on the 10, it's hard.
Yeah.
We have tried different color schemes. I can see this perfectly fine right now, by the way. And if I go over to the monitor that shows my ESC status, you might be able to see this. It's just what happens is we get glares, and you'll see like my baby blue shirt.
Yeah.
Or you'll see my wife's black jacket, and then you won't see what's on the screen.
Yeah.
But both of us can see that perfectly fine. It doesn't look like it's blinding, but you can totally see it.
see it.
In the sun, if it's pointing at the sun, it reflects into your eyes, okay? But just avoid that scenario. And the other thing too is, I just think that the weight of it is just a little bit less than the NX. It's about 10 to 12% less. I don't think that's a big factor for most people. But I like that this can collapse. I kind of would have liked to just have the standard handle because it is something you get used to muscle memory wise, but you can hold this really good like that, okay? So lots of positive things. I was making fun of the finish, but I probably shouldn't have because really it's honestly really cool. I would have liked to see dark here and light here because I think it wouldn't have marked up as much because people with dirty hands are gonna get these things dirty quick. But now that it's white, you can clean it.
Magic eraser.
Yep. That's right. Mr. Clean or what?
Yeah.
Mr. Clean magic erasers, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we
or
use?
a generic magic
Generic
eraser.
or magic erasers. Yeah, those sponges you get wet, it'll take that right off.
Yeah, it would take it. And it would even get in here
Yeah.
in the grippy, you can push and get that.
But the rubber is gonna be harder to clean. You can still clean those too though.
Yeah.
That being said, really satisfied with this thing. I think you guys will be too. And so you come to Brian Phillips RC because we do no BS content. We try to show the way the product is actually, not the way the manufacturer wants us to say it, okay? So yeah, we're gonna have gripes, we're gonna make fun of stuff once in a while, but the truth is Spektrum does a really good job. I hope they hear that in the right light, because we really do like the products they make. This is amazing, the E-Flight Waco UMX. It's an ultra micro extreme, and it does exactly that. It's extreme, it does everything you want. It flies really good, and that's from a very average pilot, okay? If you're a good pilot, you can do even more with this. And in light wind conditions, it still does okay. I'm not gonna come out here and fly it in heavier wind, but when we were in Alabama, there was a kid that was flying a UMX Pitts like the whole time. And there was
And
like,
it was way windier.
winds going like crazy.
Yeah.
So that being said, really happy with both products, guys. If you wanna help support Brian Phillips RC, there's a number of different ways you can do it. Check the links in the video description below. If they exist and Google hasn't attacked us more and taken them away, then basically you can buy the NX, or you can go up, you know, the 7e, or you can go up to the 10 or whatever it is you think you want, or you can go into the IX. But the truth is, when you follow the links, we make small commissions from the sales, but that doesn't impact how we review these things, because we really don't care what item you pick. We just want you to pick the right item for you. And that's what we try to do here. We don't try to do this like bestest, fastest, cheapest. That's a bunch of BS, total waste of your time, okay? Who cares if it's the cheapest? Who cares if it's the most expensive? If it's not right for you, it doesn't matter. And so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to show what the plane can do, what the transmitter can do, and what type of gripes you might have. And then you can figure out, can I overcome that or not? Okay, so we're here for you and the RC hobby in general. We want to get you guys in the air. We want to get you back in the air, and we want to help keep you in the air. And that's what we're doing here on Brian Phillips RC. And we hope you guys enjoyed it. So smash the like button on the way out the door. Click the bell for notifications when you're subscribing, and obviously buy these things, the planes, the batteries, the transmitters, all the stuff that we have listed down below. If you can't find it there because Google has totally shut us down, then you can go to brianphillipsrc.com. That's our domain. We bought it from Google, surprisingly. So they just want to keep you safe, AKA they're greedy.
Yeah.
So that being said, thank you for being so greedy.
And if you can't buy a plane right now, or you have to wait until Christmas because your wife won't let you open your new transmitter until December 25th.
Oh, that's right. That's true. Then you can go.
From like 3 people.
Yeah, that's right. Just let them open it now. You only live once. Could get hit by a beer truck tomorrow. That's my best excuse, by the way. So I always bring that up. Because you don't control what the beer trucks are going to do. But that being said, if you don't want to do that way, we also have Patreon, PayPal, YouTube Super Thanks, and YouTube members. Remember, you're helping to fund YouTube with those. PayPal, yeah, you know, they're getting a little bit of money.
You can be our friend or
You can be our friend and family, and then nobody pays, which is nice. Unless you're overseas, and then somebody does.
That's okay.
Another airplane.
There's
been tons of airplanes today. Everybody's flying away. They're like, we don't want to see the Waco. And then, of course, Patreon monthly support. So if you guys are one of our Patrons, thank you so much. We've seen a pretty big outpouring of support. Really nice comments encouraging us when we mentioned publicly that we've been fighting with Google. And what you guys may not understand, we try not to beat a dead horse about this. We want you to be aware of it so that you can help us if you can. And that is, we've been trying to basically fight them because they keep attacking links. Just like, you know, you hit the video description, there's like 50 links or 100 links or whatever it is. They limit the number of characters we can put. And so we just have a list, and it just says like P51, you know, P47, you know, Waco, whatever it is. It's not supposed to be deceptive. It never has been. You guys have always been amazing. You follow the link, you go over, you decide if you want to buy it. If you buy it, then we get some credit for it. It's the end of the day. There's nothing complicated about it. There's nothing deceptive at all, but YouTube claims it's deceptive somehow. But it's not deceptive when they listen to what you're saying from your telephone.
Right.
And it's not deceptive when they record your conversations from a Ford truck. And it's not deceptive when they use all of your search history to run a catch-up, which is how they do that, in case you're wondering. Because if your search history is too clean, then they make you do the pictures. That's how that works. I don't know if you knew that. So anyway, guys, if you don't know anything about tech and IT, just remember they're all greedy, and that's just the way it is. And they want to stomp us. For some reason, we don't understand why. We have been really good partners to them. We have generated millions upon millions upon millions of views, and only because you guys keep coming back, and lots of watch hours, hundreds of thousands of watch hours, which is what they want. And we love doing this. So really, it's a mutually gratifying experience so long as they don't attack us on 3/5 of our earning potential, which keeps this channel in business. So anyway, enough about us. Inside Baseball is only brought to the forefront when we think it can help the situation and we think you guys can help us. So if you've got ideas or if you've ever fought Google and won, please literally, seriously reach out to us. We want to talk to you and we want to get your advice. If you've ever fought YouTube and won, if you've ever fought Alphabet and won, let us know how you did it. Because honestly, we can't even get them to respond. They just say, you've broken a policy. We want to keep your people safe.
We're like, working on it.
Working on it. Like, what does that mean? And then all the while, they keep doing it to more links. And we have no idea. So anyway, oh, poor us. Look at us, right? But at the end of the day, guys, you don't see the 100 hours a week that we're spending fighting and then trying to also produce content. And that's what people don't see. They don't see that side of it. They just see the fun. And there is a lot of it. But at the end of the day, that's the fun and this is the work. So we got to make it worthwhile. Hopefully you guys understand and you always have. And so we appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. Thanks, guys. Stay tuned.